the topic at hand. And this is going to sound almost like something we've talked about before in the past. And after watching the last 24 hours unfold, actually more than that, 72 hours since the riots began, and they have begun to escalate in different places around the country, it's a sombering fact. It's almost sad. But staring into this storm of division that threatens the very fabric of our nation, the tensions between conservatives and progressive ideals it's always existed. But today it feels like this giant chasm, like it's impossible to bring the sides together. The actions that the progressives have been taking to revel in this chaos rather than seek resolution are disturbing. Now, those on the conservative right, you may not like in some places what we stand for, but the honesty of it is we champion individual freedoms, personal responsibility, and the rule of law. And these principles are not merely talking points, not me behind a microphone. They're the bedrock of society that allows every person to rise through effort and accountability. That's the idea of the Conservative Party. That's what the ideas should be. Yet we face a progressive movement that is in pursuit of this unattainable utopia of quote-unquote fairness, right? Which appears to embrace this crazy disorder, excuses lawlessness, and vilifies those who dare to disagree. I'm a villain in the eyes of the progressive left. And all I want is individual freedoms, personal responsibility, and the rule of law. I believe in the power of the individual. We hold that freedoms mean the right to make your own choices, bear your own consequences, and build your life through hard work. Or if you choose not to work hard, you get what you get. We see a government as necessary, but limited force and not tremendous amounts of oversight. We want a government that protects liberty and one that champions that freedom, not dictates the outcome. Now, progressives, on the other hand, they often offer up, they're advocates, if you will, for a government that intervenes to enforce equity. They want a government that's in your life. I want a government that's not. They want equity, not of opportunity, but they want equity of results. They argue for redistribution, for a level playing field by taking from some to give to others, which results in a zero-sum game. We have a lot of friends at the Heritage Foundation. They've come up with a lot of conservative ideals, prioritizing individual choice. Progressives push for the one political solution fits all. It's a fundamental clash. Freedom versus control. And that is at the genesis, the crux of what is fueling this division. You might think, oh, it's immigration, it's this, no, it's a way of life. And this ugliness that is rampant now across the country, plaguing the cities, L.A., Minnesota, every major metropolis seems like it's got its own little dust up now. We've witnessed scenes of destruction, burning buildings, local businesses looted, assaults again on law enforcement. Again, all under this banner of progressive cause. Oh, you got to allow everybody in. And now they're hiding behind this guise of, rule of law. Post on X highlight a pattern, chaos in a Democrat-led cause. Chaos. Whether it's George Floyd, right on up to the protest that we're watching over the last 72 hours. It's the same mentality. Open up these giant scars, flame these divisions, and in doing so, you're framing these acts as righteous. This resistance somehow has got a noble quality to it, according to the left or the progressives, celebrating them as expressions of, quote unquote, again, Murphy's democracy. But let's call it what it is. This is not democracy. This is mob rule. This is mob rule. There's no justice here. Blocking roads, attacking police, shielding immigrants from accountability. That's not progress. That's assaulting the very simple, basic rule of law. And when I push back, demanding some kind of order and respect for authority, I'm branded as a monster and a racist. And the tactic, or their tactic, and this tactic isn't debate, it's defamation designed to silence people, silence this disorder, justify the disorder. And I keep going back to this. The progressives, and that's Murphy and the rest of their crew, are embracing the chaos. It's not accidental. They love this. It's a strategy. They're stoking division. They rally their base with these almost communist groups, and they portray themselves as champions of the oppressed while they simply dismiss the concerns of everyday Americans. They don't care about what's going on in the individual families' lives in these cities that are being burned or wrecked or ruined or ransacked. They don't care about those hardworking families. They only care about what they consider to be a noble cause, and there's nothing noble about it. And they claim to seek fairness, but, life isn't fair. It's never been fair. And how is it fair to take from one to give to another? Take from someone who's successful and give to someone who's lazy. How is that fair? Their vision of equity translates to envy and greed. They breed anger rather than unity. They're mad at somebody who's successful. They want to knock someone down. Knock down the successful. That's their plan, to raise up the unsuccessful. And they demand that some surrender their hard-earned success to others who, in their eyes, they just simply deserve what you've made because they exist. You have a successful business. You work your ass off. Well, give half of your money to somebody else because they were born. And that's not justice. It's coercion. It's coercion dressed up as compassion. I reject this. That whole mentality. Again, I go back. Individual freedoms, personal responsibility, the rule of law. True fairness lies in equal opportunity, not equal outcome. And personal responsibility is the path to prosperity. Work, and you'll be rewarded. But this current wave of unrest, it's fueled by these ludicrous accusations that President Trump is a king wannabe. That's what they're holding on to now. They'll hold on to that for a little while until that runs out of steam. This is just a case study in progressive divisiveness. There are groups out there like the ACLU warn of this dystopian future under Trump, constantly citing Project 2025. It's the blueprint for authoritarianism. Yet these same voices often ignore the lawlessness in their own ranks. And what happens is these progressives and these politicians, They try to take it as far as they can. Then they get nervous and back off when they see their cities burn, and then they point the finger and blame it at somebody else. And now they're blaming it on Trump. Oh, Trump caused this. Trump did this. Trump did that. Protesters are blocking highways, disrupting communities. Rampant illegal immigration in these cities, and somehow that's Trump's fault. And the powers that be in those sanctuary states and cities are claiming some kind of moral superiority. You're more moral than me because what? You like this chaos? It's hypocrisy. And if this trajectory continues, the consequences could be catastrophic. I know, sometimes we throw out the sky is falling every once in a while, and, it rarely falls. But I'll tell you, it doesn't feel like it'll take a lot to get us to that place now, does it? Because the anger is beginning to build, and thus those of us on this side of the aisle. When we see this kind of lawlessness run rampant in the streets, it gets very frustrating after a while. And as I've said to you a million different times behind this microphone, when push comes to shove, and if it ever came to left versus right, we're going to win. We're going to win. It's going to be ugly. I mean, imagine that scenario where these tensions already boiling over spill off into the streets, some kind of modern-day civil war. Not lining up on a battlefield, but neighborhood by neighborhood where nothing is comfortable. And if this progressive movement continues to see a burning car, a burning building, rocks through a windshield of a police officer's cruiser, if that to them is a victory rather than an eye-opening wake-up call, we're on a dangerous path. The progressives, they paint us as the aggressors. We're not the aggressors. There's a clear commitment to individual freedoms, personal responsibility. We're about empowerment. Make yourself a great life. I don't have to hand it to you. Go out and do it. Every person, I believe this, every person, regardless of background, regardless of how they were brought up, has the potential to succeed as long as they put in the effort. I feel like progressives often lean on group identity. They frame society as a battle between the oppressors and the oppressed. That's the mindset. They prioritize care and fairness over loyalty and authority. And that leads to a moral tunnel vision that often dismisses tradition as nothing but an obstacle. This is why they excuse riots as protests, why they make excuses for people who are looting, why they say it's mostly peaceful while buildings are burning in the background. Division breeds division. And we're in a tough spot because you've got a polarizing president who half the country hates. You've got chaos in the streets. You've got, the military being called out. This is, literally one wrong chess move away from, I think, exploding. In the end, we have to support the rule of law. We have to support law enforcement, not because we ignore their flaws, but because we know that they're the thin blue line that is between us and anarchy. We need clearly to clean up the streets. The previous administration literally allowed an invasion to happen within the last 4 years, and we're watching that spill over into the streets of cities across this country. This is what the plan was. What you're watching and witnessing the last 4 days is the plan. In fact, I don't even think in the minds of most progressives that it's violent enough. They probably want more violence, more bloodshed, more fires, more explosions. There's a storm coming. Are you ready for it? I mean, some say it's already here. Maybe it is. Turn on the nightly news. Maybe that storm has already arrived. It's very possible. I mean, a civil war, even a metaphorical one, could leave scars that may never heal. We'll be back, everybody.